Sleeves here with the Senior Pickleball Report powered by TNC Network. Let's get it going. Today in our People of Pickleball episode, we speak with Stacey Cleary from For Joy Pickleball Paddles. And we talk about a lot of things. I did a review of one of her paddles, and the artwork is incredible on these paddles. High quality paddles. High-end artwork, more to come is what I'm hearing from Stacey, and we talk about a number of things. Her incredible journey, the designs that she has created and having others create as well, and highlighting some artists out there, hopefully in the future. Really taking pride in her work, and it's really cool to see the artistic side of pickleball and pickleball paddles. So stay tuned for that. But if you like this content, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out our newsletter as well. Links in the description for all discounts and anything you could think of. And at the end of the day, folks, you know what to do. Hit that like and subscribe button. Keep us going. And let's get to that interview with Stacey Cleary from For Joy. All right, we are joined by Stacey Cleary for forjoypaddles.com. I'll attach, obviously, my review because these paddles are not only gorgeous, but they're very high functioning, and you can put a lot of spin on them. But before we get to any of that, Stacey, we got to find out, it's one thing to obviously start a company, but you had to get into pickleball prior to that. And so I want to know how this game sort of captivated you and obviously took over a large portion of your life.
Sure did. It sure did. Like it does most people who start playing the game.
Right.
But yeah, we actually started during COVID. So luckily my husband had signed up for our town summer session.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was 2020, started around June. I'm a teacher actually. So we were remote teaching up until 2020. And then we got out there in the middle of the summer with our masks. Like town mandated you had to wear masks, and it was like the middle of the summer, whatever. And we were, tapping paddles instead of shaking hands, which I standard now is what you do. But and that's where it all began. Is the summer of 2020, playing out there during COVID and being so grateful to just get out of the house and like meet people and talk to humans. And
Right. Yeah. Like everybody else, I came across the game in 2020 during COVID. I was playing with friends and family in Tahoe, and I live in the middle of nowhere. So I thought, like, God, this game is great, but where am I ever going to play it again? And then I come back and somebody had painted some pickleball lines on these dilapidated tennis courts near me. And I was like, somebody's playing this game.
It's
I was also a teacher. I taught high school for 12 years. My wife taught high school as well. And we were somewhat thankful that we missed the COVID teaching experience because my friends and family who teach are like, holy cow, you thought the workload was something before that. How did you survive that?
It was insane. It was really like you had to learn a whole new skill set in a matter of minutes. Like, just the digital side of things, we just had to, and I'm an art teacher. So it felt like it was almost doubly as hard because I couldn't give them material. Like we actually made up little Ziploc bags of materials and we're handing them out to kids. Like families would drive by and be like, here's some colored pencils. Like it was a lot. So
yeah, for sure.
And then I actually, during that, I really started to work on digital art because at least that was something that I could kind of do with them online, and we got some digital art tools going. And so, I'm an artist too. I do painting and drawing and I do everything, sort of a jack of all trades. And then that's where the digital art came in. And so it's sort of like where the For Joy, I was able to actually make a product out of this new skill.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can tell you have a background in art because I've reviewed a ton of paddles over the last 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
And yours, there's only a few that stick out, but yours really stick out. They're just,
Thanks.
I don't know. I think for me, part of this, and I don't want this to come off wrong, because they just don't feel
they don't feel manufactured. The art doesn't feel manufactured. It doesn't feel like somebody went through a catalog and picked a couple graphics and then put them on, and then I don't understand the choices they made.
Right. Or it's like a wallpaper. Let's just put some.
Yeah. I mean, yours feels like the one I received, the sunset is that. Yeah. It's like a watercolor.
Yeah. I mean, I really did work on like blending the colors and getting.
Yes.
Yeah. I really spent, I kind of, my husband would be like, are you done yet? I'm like, no, I need to blend it a little bit more. And
when I show people the paddle and I put it on the fence, it's always, it stops people. It's one of the few paddles that stops people. And then they pick it up and they're like, does the way it look match the way it's going to play? It looks great. It's different than anything I've seen. And then they hit it. And you didn't mess around. Like you just didn't like pick some random, $40 paddle you can get on Amazon and put some cool stuff on it. You picked up, you have a high performing paddle that looks phenomenal too. And obviously we'll get into some of the cool things you're doing with the company. So talk about like creating the designs because they're all unique.
Yeah, I went through many iterations and there were probably almost 10 or 12 different designs that I sort of started with. And I did a lot of my poor family and friends. I did a lot of questionnaires. Like, what do you think of this one? What do you think of this one?
That's smart.
Yeah. So, and then at the end of the day, it was, me making the decisions saying, actually, I just really like I knew sunset like had to be in it. And then this white palm was another that I just loved and people gave me a lot of good feedback on. And I spent a lot of time with the coloring of this one. And so, I just, I tried, the important thing for me was to get something that was really visually like, it just grabbed your attention. I wanted like part of it was, so what had like kind of to backtrack a little when we were out there during COVID and playing, one of the players had built one of these like clip things to put your paddles in like next up in line. And so, we had our paddles up in line and I just kind of remember looking at all these gray and black and just really unattractive paddles, and someone would hold up this paddle and say, whose gray paddle is this? And everyone would turn and look and it would be like why is this happening? I don't understand. This is a flat calling for art. I just said
it should be fun.
It's such a fun sport. We need to have fun paddles. We need to have paddles. And, of course, like the art piece of me was like, it needs to be not like just a logo or water, I wanted it to have like a little bit more to it. And then when I started to go down the road of like, oh, I think I'm going to do this, then I was thinking of the name. So that was a tough one. Like coming up with a brand name is not an easy thing to do, mostly because most names are taken.
And for sure.
So you have to do like all this research. And so I came up with all these great names, and a lot of them are taken by not necessarily other paddle companies, but just generally like trademarks names.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Hard to do. And so I came up with the name. Luckily, I was actually it's a funny story because I have a trademark company I was working with to submit the name, and I was going to call the company A-Joy. I decided joy needed to be in the name.
For sure. With those paddles, absolutely.
It was just like we play for joy, or it's a joyful sport. Joy. It just felt like it needed to be in there.
Yeah.
And so I called them to say, okay, I have the name. I just need you to double check. And it was going to be A-Joy because I figured like it's A-Joy to play, and like letter A might be smart. And so they didn't call me back right away. And then I went to play pickleball that night, and I'm out on the courts and there's 4 players on the court. And it just hit me like a bolt of lightning, like For Joy. We play For Joy. There's 4 players and it's 4 people in my family. And then I was like, For Joy, can you do it? And they're like, it's not taking submitting right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. It's a great choice. It rolls off the tongue easy. I like it. Anytime I go to the URL, I just have to put 4 in and it just pops in, and it's not like I don't have to keep typing the next one and the next one. And I get to you really quick. And I have not had anybody that has not loved that paddle, at least just on sightseeing. It does bring a great deal of joy at the courts, and I've taken it several places, several states. I brought it to PickleCon. I brought it to my parents' place, and obviously I bring it to my courts here. So it's making the rounds.
I got to send you another one. I'll send you some more.
It's making the rounds. You know, and I get a lot of different designs and things that are really cool.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, the match, it's not like the full, it doesn't check all the boxes. Mm-hmm. You know, it's great looking, but it's a cheap paddle, or it's a great paddle and it doesn't look great. But aesthetically, you've done everything from the grip, you know, to the little band. And I'm an aesthetic guy. So when I open a box, I want to be like drawn to it. And then when I got that one and I started looking at some of the other ones, I'm like, and then I started thinking like, the sky's the limit for what you're going to be able to do, because you're an artist and this is your first, you just delved into this. Like you're just getting going. So like, that's why I want you to keep you in business because I think what you have to offer is endless. So talk a little bit before we get into some of the aspects of the company itself. Like, where do you see it going design wise? Because you've done some great ones. You have some great responses, but I mean, it's not like you've created 30 paddles.
No, I'm taking it slow. I'm taking it
for sure.
very, like methodical about it. Just like I was with, like you said, all the details, like the bands and the edge guard and the grip and the end cap, all of that stuff. You know, I'm very careful and maybe a bit of a perfectionist. And I think of crafting things. So I definitely am going to come out with new designs. I already have some in the works. My next plan was actually to put out a poll, both on socials and through my email list. So if anyone's not joined my email list, just go on my website and it'll pop up to join the email list. And that way I can have more people voting. And I can share the poll all over the place too. So that would be great. Cause I've decided that's one thing that I've learned through this process is getting feedback early before like buying hundreds of paddles is really the way to go. And then just see what people like. Cause what I like, I've realized is not necessarily what everyone else likes. And I've gotten actually a lot of people requesting more masculine designs. So I'm listening to that and going to come out with stuff. Additionally, I've met some people that are other artists. So I may be licensing other artists' work to put on my paddles because there's so much talent out there and they would love to do the art piece and don't want anything to do with the business side. And so it's like there's a lot of opportunity there where I can kind of share spread the wealth a little bit, right? Because our community is my family, they're my people. And get some really amazing other works of art out there. And it's an interesting avenue that's really opened up for artists that I don't think people have really realized on some level yet. And I call this peak paddle because, you know, I don't review what I call the Big 10, you know, the Yolas, the Selkirks. First of all, they don't send me those. And that's fine. Everybody else is reviewing those. Right. I think what I enjoy the most is I get to review people that are getting going and really have a joy for it, pun intended. But at the same time, they're, you know, I get it. You know, you want to make money, you want to stay in business, but that's not really sort of the first instinct. It's like, I love this game. What can I contribute to it? What can I offer? And you've really, I don't know, for me, at least you've struck a chord because there's probably a handful of companies that I look forward to their new designs. And you've definitely cracked into that for sure. You're probably actually number one. So I do think like what you mentioned, all these artists that are out there, and I talk to people about that. I'm like,
and maybe they don't want to start a paddle company, but they have something to offer that you can maybe highlight their work and obviously and highlight your brand. I want to touch on this too, because obviously, you know, in your website, you know, you started this company. It's funded by women. I want to see. Obviously, we've talked a little bit. You connect with other women and other groups and other brands. Talk about you know, that aspect of it, because I'm starting to see more and more women-only sort of companies within pickleball. You know, there's a couple of brands that I've interviewed, people that have done apparel, and but you're the first paddle one that I've come across. So talk about that, the importance of that to you.
Yeah, that's a big one. That I did a lot of research on that, actually. I mean, yes, there are a few other women-owned brands. I don't want to say I'm the only one, because but they're you know, they may have different focus than I have, but it is I mean, there's how many paddle manufacturers in this world? I think we're thousands at this point. And so yes, it's a very small minority that are women owned. And I just, you know, I'm on the courts, and it's definitely 50-50, if not some days more heavily women than men.
For sure.
Court. And I just felt like their needs weren't necessarily being addressed as much as, you know, it's all the pro sports and the pro, you know, and I, you know, I've spoken with some pros, actually. Actually, Salome Dize, I had shared with at the convention in Las Vegas.
Oh, okay, great.
She's partners with a brand called The One, which is a glove company, and she wears that glove. She loves that glove. Anyway, I had a long conversation. She's amazing. She's a fantastic. I love her, and you know, she was really encouraging as another woman in the sport that, you know. You're doing the, you know, just keep going. You're doing is the middle market. It's not the, you know, everyone, the paddle freaks, I want to call them, paddle
nerds, all the techie stuff.
The bangers, you know, they would never buy my paddle, and that's fine. Like, I know that my brand isn't necessarily for everyone, but there's this place for it that I just have to sort of, you know, develop and get the word out. But I mean, for sure, I'm a huge supporter of women-owned businesses across the board, of other places in my life, and so I do like to kind of highlight the fact that, you know, I'm just a teacher who decided to start a company at not a young age, and you know, it's been scary, but really exciting, and you know, I know that we had talked about it in the past that I'm also donating to 4 different causes.
Right. Yeah. Let's go into that. Like, so what are some of the money going, and why those causes?
Sure. So I, after that first year of playing pickleball with my husband during COVID, I got diagnosed with a brain tumor in 2021. And luckily, I was so lucky it was benign, but it was lodged in a tough spot, and I had to have this pretty awful surgery to have it removed. And I had about a year recovery. So I was out of commission for a year, couldn't play, lost my balance, like had all kinds of recovery issues. But in that experience, I was just every day so grateful. Like you go through something like that, and your life gets kind of put back in perspective. And it's weird because before that, I had actually 2 friends whose husband and mother-in-law had passed away from brain cancer. Like I was in my head that, you know, cancer, just so lucky. So anyway, the American Cancer Society is one of the causes that because of my experience. I also had a dear friend pass away from ovarian cancer the year before, and she had this 9-year battle, and it's one of those diseases that's missed. So ladies, get checked and don't listen to your doctor, like ask more than one doctor, because it's a hidden disease, and you just really have to be pretty aggressive to to go after what symptoms you have. So that's another one. The Alzheimer's Research Foundation. My brother-in-law, John Turner's amazing human being, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at 52.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's, and who doesn't know someone affected by Alzheimer's?
Well, right.
I mean, it's a horrible disease, and it's pervasive. And, my mother-in-law it's just everywhere. And so, that was, really important. Of course, the Breast Cancer Research Foundation, again, breast cancer is one of these diseases that is just I know so many people who have been affected by that disease. So, so those are the four. And again, it kind of goes with For Joy, for designs, for causes. I had this huge list of things I wanted to donate to, and we're like, no, like, let's focus on something. And health, obviously, like pickleball is about health in so many ways, right? You get physical health, mental health, cognitive health, social, emotional, so health became the focus, and then those four causes are just near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the 4 has really paid off for you in a lot of different ways. It's really, like you've mentioned, it's helped consolidate and help you focused on what you're doing with your brand. And I think that's what's interesting, is with all these new brands coming into play, whether it's, anything with pickleball, it's fun to see sort of the directions some of them take and the creativity that they take. And everybody's trying to do something different, and everybody's trying to do something, from what most part I can tell, really, good and beneficial to the larger community of pickleball players and outside of that, because I've never, I've played a lot of sports in my life, but I've never come across anything quite like this.
Yes.
It's hard to explain, but I think your brand does a really good way of explaining it, because the key word you hit on, which I love, and I try to be this way in all things in my life, is grateful. You just to be able to move on a court, and to hit a ball, and at the end of the day, go home and enjoy your life. I think it's cool what you've done, and I think your brand highlights that, which I love. For Joy, obviously.
We're playing for joy. We play for joy is my hashtag. We play for joy. We give for joy. And it's a sport that, like, even if you play like crap and you lose every game, you still end up having, it's still fun.
Yeah, it is
a great experience. And then when you play really well, you're like, oh my God,
I'm good again. Yeah, I know. The silly little wiffle ball game has somehow captivated, a global audience. And so before we get you out of here, where do you see this going? Because, we've just started to really scratch the international part of this all.
Yes.
For the most part, it's been kind of a bubble in the US, but I've interviewed some people, professionals who have gone over to, places like India, and they're like, you have no idea what's coming, Mike. These people are
taking off.
They're crazy for it. And there's billions of them. So where do you see this game going, and where do you see your brand going?
So I definitely see it going global. I definitely see it in the Olympics, hopefully, in 2028, but we'll see. I'm sort of, I'm in it for the ride. Like, let's see where it goes. Certainly right now my focus is the US and trying to establish myself here, but that doesn't mean that I'd love to sell anywhere. So anyone who's listening and in another country and has a shop and wants to do business with me, there's no holds barred at this point. But I see a lot of opportunity, in all levels of the sport. But again, I still consider myself, and I'm going to stay within that sort of place of the rec player, intermediate to advanced. I would love to come out with a another model that not necessarily. I think I have a great paddle. My husband's a 4.5 plus player, plays every day and does great with it. And I have many advanced players playing with it, but I might want to come out with a different version, like a different style, maybe something that doesn't have an edge guard, like an edgeless. I'm also thinking about coming out with a more beginner level model.
Yeah.
Because, there's so many people entering the sport every day, and they don't necessarily want to spend $169 on a paddle, right?
Right,
so,
for sure.
So I want to make it as inclusive as possible, right? And have product out there that, so if they're looking to just enter the sport and like my designs and still have a quality, I mean, it wouldn't be, your super basic beginner, because I am a perfectionist. I'm already actually getting some demos in for that level player, but
well, that's the thing. You don't have to spend a lot of money to have a really high quality paddle these days. I review paddles that are $60-$70. And, some of these are only sold on Amazon,
right?
And they're nice. They're plenty of paddle for anybody, let alone a beginner.
Yeah.
I think we've almost passed the era of, besides going to Walmart and buying a $7 paddle, but like if you're going to invest in a paddle, there's almost no bad paddles anymore because the technology is sifted down. So there's high quality stuff out there. And I love that you're going to diversify because there's a pro market. Some people don't even know there's pro pickleball yet, which is fine because the vast majority of us, the pro game could go away and we would never even know it was gone. But there are the amateurs. And I think that's when I try and do reviews. I'm like, I do a lot of the higher end paddles, but I do enjoy when somebody gives me sort of two versions. Like they'll give me their pro model and then, their model that's for under $100 because, if you get into this game, nobody wants to drop that kind of money right away.
No.
We know they're going to stick with the game, but they don't know it.
Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah. And they just got to learn the game. Like they have to get their, how do you score and how do you get it over the net? And you don't need a $200 paddle to do that. You just need to get your muscle going and the muscle.
It's like buying high-end golf clubs and you don't know how to play golf quite yet. Like the technology that's in the club isn't going to help you. In fact, it's going to hurt you because you don't know what you're doing. And people all the time that I play with, they want to get started. They're like, well, you've got some paddles. What do you think? I'm like, well, I wouldn't start with all this because what you're doing now, none of this will matter.
Right.
You don't even spin the ball or anything yet. So I wouldn't worry about that and not spend the money on that. And do what you do in anything else. If you stick with it and you get better, then you go to a higher level and then find a brand that you can connect with. And I think what I enjoy about the brands that I really connect with is they built a culture.
Yeah.
They've built a culture around their brand. It's not just some paddle they're slapping together and throwing out there.
Yeah.
There's more to it. And you have such layers to what you're doing that I enjoy seeing companies like that. And I want to support them because for me, that's really what it's about. Like I want to have a buying experience and I want to connect with that company.
Yes.
And I connect greatly with what you're doing. And, you mentioned earlier that, maybe paddles that have a little more of a masculine look like that. And I can see that. For me, for the record, I was like, this thing's dope. I
know.
I'm playing with this thing. Look at this. It's amazing.
Yeah. The sunset, I know the sunset is one of my top sellers to men. This is, I would say probably first to men. And then I have this one, the Fitz.
Oh, that's trippy. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Like if you did this with that.
Talk about spin.
Yeah.
That one would be the next. That's when I first designed it, I thought that was my masculine paddle, but actually the sunset too. So but that's why you do polling. You gotta see what do people like and what do they respond to, and then
right.
I didn't want to have like too many options because I feel like you can overwhelm buyers with too many.
I would agree.
So it's going to be, and I may do like limited edition things too, where it's like, like that one's I'm only going to get a certain number of those in stock and that's it. And then
guest artist limited edition stuff would be really, wow. Very cool. Well, hey, I've really enjoyed talking with you and I love what you're doing. And I'm looking forward to seeing you grow and I will support you in any way I can because Well, you've built what a well-rounded brand, and I really like it a lot. And yeah, eye-catching is, I think, a slight understatement for your paddles because they are so different, and I love them. And best of luck, Stacey.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Mike. Yeah, I definitely wanted to get paddles on the courts that made a difference, that people would see and say, "Hey, what's that?" And then and then it's a conversation starter, just like the game is, and just get people connecting. What we're trying to do here.
Yeah, building community, and you've done it. Congratulations.
Thanks. You too.
Thank you.
You're amazing as well. I love what you're doing, and
thank you.
I follow you closely, and again, we'll chat offline, and I'll send you more, whatever you need.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, thanks for your time, Stacey.
Okay.
And all the links in the description for forjoypaddles.com below, and discount codes, and check out her lineup and continue to follow for obviously updates, because she's talked about some exciting stuff to come.
Hope you enjoyed our interview with Stacey Cleary from For Joy Pickleball, and check out the links below. I highly recommend her paddles. They're different. They will stand out, and you will stand out with your paddle on the rack and on the court. All right, folks, at the end of the day, you know what to do. Check out all those links in the description. And hey, let's pickle.